Happy and hello, my name is Kelly Bloss and this is my channel, Dynabites International. It's pumpkin season and so I'm going to be giving you another one of my pumpkin recipes. A pumpkin loaf, you could also make it into a bundt cake, but a pumpkin loaf with a cream cheese topping. It's going to be filled with fresh pumpkin, which I've roasted already, and I'm going to be adding some walnuts. I have prepped my ingredients and I'm going to start to assemble the batter. The first thing I'm going to do is add all of the dry ingredients together, except for the sugar. The sugar I'm putting in with the wet ingredients. Then I will mix the wet ingredients with the sugar. So the pumpkin, vanilla bean paste, butter, eggs, and the sugar. Mix that together. Now I'm toasting my walnuts in a pan instead of the oven. It's easier to watch that way, but you can do it either way. You can put it in the oven at about 375 degrees for about 5 minutes, but pay close attention to it because it will brown fairly quickly. I like to put it on the stove because I'm usually standing right over it and I'm watching it so I can see when it starts to toast and then I can turn it off, prevent any burning. Okay, so now I have everything mixed. I just need to chop up my toasted walnuts and add them to the batter. I also need to spray the bottom of my loaf pan with some non-stick spray. I like using the baking flour spray. It really is actually, it really works well. It helps to release the cake or the bread from the pan very easily, so you're not going to get any kind of sticking after baking, especially when you are putting them in aluminum foil. pans to give away as gifts, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bake one loaf for home, so I'll be putting that in a glass pan, and then I'm going to be making smaller loaves to give away for other people to try. So that's what I like to do. I like to use the spray. If not, if you're just going to bake at home and you have your own loaf pan but you don't have this spray, just use some butter and make sure to coat it evenly, without any spaces, especially at the bottom. The sides you can kind of run your knife through to remove it from the edges, but on the bottom you can't reach it. So you really have to make sure that your bottom is buttered really well. Make sure that the bottom of the pan is buttered really well, not your bottom. All right, so it's a little warm in here, and I am glistening, not sweating, glistening. I have just put the pumpkin breads in the oven, and I put the timer on for 30 minutes because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the loaf around halfway through. We're gonna cook or bake the loaf for about 50 to 60 minutes, but check it at about 50 minutes, put a fork in it or a knife or a toothpick, whichever your choice of tester is. Put it in the center of the loaf and see if it's done. Now, the smaller loaves will probably be finished sooner than the big loaf. I would probably say around 35 to 45 minutes the loaves will be done, but we'll check it about halfway through. And then we're gonna be making the icing next. Now we're baking the pumpkin loaf for about, we're baking the pumpkin loaf at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So keep an eye on that. Okay, it's all done. There is the pumpkin loaf right there, my little setup, but now is the time to tell you how good this is. The smell is amazing. You have the pumpkin spice, you have the pumpkin spice you can smell, but you can also smell those walnuts, the toasted walnuts in there. And you'll smell the cinnamon, the nutmeg, and the clove, which is all in that pumpkin spice, and ginger. And I made a cream cheese icing to go over this, and I just put a little bit extra on here because I love cream cheese frosting. But here you go. Now this is the edge of the end of the loaf, which has the crispy edges, which I love. That is good. That is very good. You can really taste the pumpkin in this, but of course the spices really stand out. And then that cream cheese helps to kind of enhance the spices in the loaf. If that makes sense. To me, it tastes like it really sticks out. And then you have that crunch of the walnuts in there, and just the flavor of toasted walnut is really good. But if you have anybody who has any kind of nut allergies, by all means, don't put any walnuts in there. You can definitely make that without it. But this is such a great fall recipe. It's definitely something that you can have in the morning with a cup of coffee on a cold day. You can make it the night before, have it the next morning, or throughout the week. If you make it on Sunday, you can have it throughout the week for breakfast, or you can just have it as dessert. It really is nice, and it is kind of that has that warmth from the spices, and then the comforting, you know, fattiness of the walnuts in there, and then just the pumpkin is just great. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this recipe in this video. If you did like the recipe and you want to try it out at home, click on the link in the description below. And I really appreciate it if you would share, and if you haven't yet subscribed, subscribe. Tell your family and friends about it. I really appreciate all the support. Have a great day. Thanks for joining me.